Hello, I am Xarkun and this is World of Warships Legends. Today, the legendary tier Soviet light cruiser Khabarovsk is bringing you some good news in the context of the arena game. Let's get the good news out of the way though, because it really doesn't have anything to do with World of Warships Legends and has more to do with my personal life. The good news is I've found a new job. Yes, that's right. I will no longer be working at the job I currently work at, which you may be pleased to hear, because the reason you're seeing this video today is because the job I'm currently working is probably going to prevent me from streaming today. And instead, I will stream sometime this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. But with the new job that I'm getting, I will hopefully be able to create a more regular stream schedule where that job does not get in the way of it, although I don't know if I will continue to stream on Fridays, as I always have. I may have to pick a new day. In any case, probably a good idea to not expect a stream today and instead look out for me sometime this weekend. But a new season of Legendary Tier Arena has begun, and the Khabarovsk is, of course, playable in it. The Khabarovsk was playable last season as well, and, well, every Legendary Tier ship is playable, and this game is from the previous, very first debut season of Legendary Tier ships, and frankly, the Khabarovsk remains the king of gunboats in this entire game. It may say on the ship icon that the Khabarovsk is a destroyer, but this is misleading. The Khabarovsk is, in fact, a mini cruiser without a citadel, and it pumps out damage much like a cruiser does with its main guns and its high explosive spam, although the armor piercing can indeed be effective, and we may see that here against this enemy Khabarovsk. One of the things that makes the Khabarovsk so very good and makes it the undisputed king, in my mind, of gunboat destroyers is that it has some 50mm armor plating along its side, which can shatter destroyer caliber high explosive shells, even the same caliber high explosive shells as the Khabarovsk fires. And that is why you shoot AP at the broadsides of Khabarovsks in destroyer fights when you come up close to them. You can see that shooting AP against that Khabarovsk was indeed very lucrative for us. In fact, I think we got some salvos worth about 5k, because the AP fully penetrated that 50mm of armor plating, whereas our HE would have just shattered against it. And still, even though the Khabarovsk has been in the game for as long as it has, I don't think a lot of people really appreciate that fact, because I know every time I take this ship out and I get into fights one-on-one versus destroyers, I show them my broadside, they shoot HE at it, and a lot of their HE shatters and doesn't damage me at all. Plus, the Khabarovsk has, on this build at least, 22.5k health, which is a lot, and it has the potential to have even more HP because it has 2 repair party consumables, something that no other destroyer at the legendary tier can enjoy, and something that drastically increases the survivability. And if you want to get really crazy on the survivability with this ship, well, in the arena arms race mode, you do pick up those HP replenishment buffs, and you get a steady income of HP every time you lose it every second. Not a very fast rate of replenishment, but it's there. And that makes things pretty, honestly, I want to say overpowered. The Khabarovsk is just nuts in the arena mode. I think it's by far my favorite legendary tier destroyer to play. And I think if you haven't tried it in the arena mode yet, this new season may be the time for you to do it. I do believe the Khabarovsk is actually available for rent if you don't have it, so there is no reason you shouldn't be able to take it out. But if you do take it out, I do want to caution you against one thing, And that is, again, I go back to my saying the Khabarovsk is actually a mini cruiser with no citadel, because it is. It's not really a destroyer, and it shouldn't really be played like a destroyer either. And what do I mean by don't play it like a destroyer? Well, if you'll notice, throughout the entire course of this game, I've just been open water gunboating. I've been spotted the entire time. I've been harassing these battleships, lighting fires on them. I think even getting some armor piercing into one of their broadsides, maybe the Conqueror. And then I've just been trying to dodge their return salvos quite successfully. That is the bread and butter of the Khabarovsk. That is the play style. Open water gunboating from longer ranges than other destroyers could achieve, using the excellent speed on this particular vessel to dodge any return fire. The Khabarovsk is in no way, shape, or form a torpedo boat destroyer. You cannot make it a torpedo boat destroyer. Do not take that as a challenge in the comments section to tell me that you can make it a torpedo boat destroyer and you have good success in it. If you have made it into a torpedo boat destroyer and you're having good success with it, I would bet you some pennies that good success has a lot more to do with the enemy team being a bunch of potatoes and a lot less to do with your insane skill at being a stealthy torpedo boat destroyer, Captain. This ship just does not lend itself to the torpedo boat playstyle. It has a lot of torpedoes, granted. They have a 6-kilometer range. They hit pretty hard, but they are very slow, although they are very stealthy. The Khabarovsk has a less than 1 kilometer detectability range, I believe, on its torpedoes. So if you launch them at a target, the target's not going to see them until they're right in front of the target's face, and by that time there will be no opportunity to dodge them, and they will probably hit. Nevertheless, it's the guns that do the lion's share of the damage with the Khabarovsk, and you can see we're up to 130,000 damage done with 2 torpedo hits. So some of that damage, yes, some of that damage did come from our torpedoes, but the majority of it has come from our guns. And as you can see, harassing this Yamato R, well, there's really nothing he can do about us. It's actually probably quite frustrating for him, and honestly, that's the best feeling. That is the best feeling with this ship. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to annoy the ever-loving crap out of battleships by slowly removing their hit points through means of high explosive penetration damage, fire, and perhaps armor-piercing damage against their upper belt armor or superstructure. And you can see that when they try to shoot back, well, it's very difficult for them to land any shots at all and do any kind of meaningful damage. You might say that the reason this Yamato is having such a difficult time is because he's playing a Yamato R, which is some evidence that perhaps he's not the most experienced player in this game. Perhaps he is not super adept at aiming, and therefore he can't land any shells on this destroyer, which is, it should be said, a lot bigger than most destroyers, and even though it is difficult to hit at long ranges due to its speed and its overall dodginess, well, it's easier to hit relative to other destroyers due to its sheer size. In any case, it's difficult for battleships to hit this ship, and most of the time when I find myself being harassed by a Khabarovsk, there are a lot of other targets of greater value for me to shoot at, so oftentimes the best way to deal with the Khabarovsk is just to ignore it until it gets close enough to you that you can actually hit it with your guns. Now, as far as how you want to build this thing, because I'm sure people may have some questions, well, the first thing you want to do is pretend like concealment doesn't exist for this thing. It's got bad base concealment anyway, and when you're going to choose your mod selection, note that the rudder shift at base on this destroyer is absolutely abysmal. At the same time, a good rudder shift is absolutely essential for you to be as dodgy as possible when these irritated little battleships send salvos back at you in return after you have done a nice job of harassing them. So in the second and third mod slots, I think you want to go with the steering gears mods. You don't want to use the concealment mod in the third mod slot. It does not offer you as much value as the steering gears mod does, because the concealment on this ship is always going to be terrible, no matter what, and the rudder shift is always going to be terrible too. Based on the playstyle of this ship, which, again, open water gunboating at medium to long range, based on that, you want the best rudder shift you can get. So, both rudder shift mods on your build. As far as the commander you choose, a lot of people like Trubetskoy, some people like Gurin. Personally, I am using Gurin, and I have been using Gurin for quite a long time now. The reason I've been using Gurin is because in his fourth row of skills, he has a commander skill called Sidestep. This skill, in my mind, is crucial to the Khabarovsk. It increases the gun range by the most of any commander skill, and if you have it fully maxed, that is, you have Gurin at rank 16, legendary 4, like I do, well, then you can get these guns shooting out to over 15 kilometers with Gurin, with Megatron as an Rumble as an inspiration, and with the Epic Booster of Battle Propensity flag. So maximum gun range on the Khabarovsk, 15.2 kilometers, I do believe, is how far I've got these guns reaching out, and that is just beautiful. It allows you to be the most effective battleship harasser in the entire sea. So, personally, I like Gurin, but you can certainly have a lot of success in Trubetskoy, and you can do basically what I would call the meme build with Trubetskoy. He's got a skill that increases the fire chance and the gun range in his third row of skills, and you can absolutely get that fire chance up to a ridiculous amount if you've got that third row skill maximized. I think you can get it up to something like 16%, which is crazy. Turns this thing into a little flamethrower. You can be farming Witherer medals left and right with it. The only downside to that is that it does decrease the high explosive alpha strike, which can hurt a little bit if you're fighting one-on-one with a destroyer gunboat like the Gearing that has a very fast rate of fire and knows when to switch to armor piercing to shoot at you. He may be able to actually trade quite effectively with you if you are using that Trubetskoy skill. And of course, the other downside with that skill is that you do not get to use Twist and Track or Perceptive and get the RPF indicator to show you the nearest direction of the nearest enemy ship, which I think is essential if you're going to play this ship the way I play it, as a gunboat, because your concealment is going to be poor. My concealment is only 6.9 kilometers, so I'd like to know the direction where the nearest enemy destroyer is in advance. I feel like that is quite helpful. In any case, this is a bread and butter Khabarovsk game in Arena, doing what the Khabarovsk is meant to do and farm damage. As a result, we get rewarded with a hefty amount of XP, and we finish with 244,000 damage done. So, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Khabarovsk in Arena. I think it truly shines. I recommend you get out there and try it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already done that, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.